a little voice inside my head says, find a rock. And I look up and I see a rock and I grab the rock and it says, lick the rock. So I put the rock to my tongue and it said, find the moon. So I look up and I'm looking around. I have to move a little bit and I find the moon and I point straight down and I point to a tree. I said, go stand by that tree. You're about to shoot an elk. He goes to that tree. I walk back about 15 yards, blow a cow call. An elk bugles, walks up 35 yards, and he shoots him.
That's some Indian stuff right there, buddy.
Whoa.
That's some
Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. I'm your friendly host, Tim Kjellesvik.
I'm your co-host, Matt Drury.
Are you friendly?
Depends on the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much sleep you got the night before?
Yeah. I've been struggling here lately, but that's okay. I'm going to power through for this episode because
For the fans.
For those that are listening,
for the person.
because we got special guests on. We got a buddy of ours on.
Yeah, we got Austin Land from Wild Country Outfitters jumping in. He's also known as Taylor's husband.
If you look at the guest intro / bio we have here, it just says Taylor's husband. So
That's your identity, buddy.
Is this your claim to fame? I hope.
I'll stick to the shadows of Taylor. That's where I like to be anyway.
Same. It's Mark, Taylor, Terry. I just kind of lurch behind them and
Ooh, lurching.
Oh yeah, they
Creeping.
cast a big shadow. So you do okay if you could just kind of hang in the periphery,
Preferably with your shoulders hunched, crouching a little bit, ready to pounce when the moment's right.
So Austin, we were talking a little bit leading into the episode here as we were getting things set up.
We were giving Austin fitness tips.
We were giving him fitness tips.
Mhm.
That's right. So you said something pretty interesting. I thought we're going to get into like kind of the prep and all the stuff that you need to get if you're interested in going out on a big game hunt out west or wherever, you know, what your regimen is or what you think somebody from these flatlands of the Midwest or down in the South need to do to get ready for it. But before we do that, we were kind of talking about like you do the exact opposite of what deer hunters typically do. We like to bulk up during the deer season and we're at our peak bulk at the end of it. You, by the end of your guiding season, you lost 30 pounds. So how's that work out?
I'm kind of like the animals in this sense. I spend all off season trying to pack on as much weight that I can, knowing that I'm going to go into the fall losing a ton of weight. So I'm the complete opposite of what most people do. What you see on the social media, they're eating the Little Debbie's and doing that, sitting in the tree stands. We're eating the Little Debbie's all off season, trying to pack on weight because I'm about to start walking, 10 to 20 miles a day through the mountains. So it's a little bit backwards.
I don't believe that you eat any Little Debbie's. I think you're keyed in on just exactly the right amount of carbs, protein, all that crap that you just know you're going to be dialed in on. Because if you're packing on, you said you've packed on 18 pounds. So we're filming this a little bit early from when it's airing. So you've already packed on 18 pounds from the season, but you're on basically kind of like a carnivore diet, right?
Yep. So basically I eat red meat, eggs, cheese, and fruit.
I could get down.
Yeah, that's my diet.
What about
It's
dairy?
good.
Any dairy?
Cheese.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll eat cheese.
But what
I'll
about
eat
yogurt?
cheese. Every so often I'll eat yogurt. I'm not a big yogurt guy though.
I love yogurt.
Not
Oikos
against it,
Pro.
But you do.
That's a strong take, brother, to say that you're not against yogurt. It takes a man with strong character to come out and publicly say that.
Yogurt is friend. Yeah.
Yogurt friend.
That's like, remember when we had Steve Stoltz on?
Yeah.
It was like last year or so, and he was talking about, I think, antler scores and how they were like, they're a human-made construct, and he kept calling them like a man-made idea, or it was some weird phraseology.
It's weird for Steve to be weird.
That's gonna kill me now, man. There is a man-created something.
Yeah, good story, Tim.
But a friend of yogurt.
So what, you guys get to, how many elk do you guide, like successful elk hunts do you guide in a season, do you think, on average? Just you.
Personal.
Yeah.
Probably anywhere from 13 to 20 a year.
And then overall there at Wild Country, how many do you guys guide throughout the year?
I think we did around 106 or 108 this past season in 2024.
And it's not just the elk though, but you guys do mule deer and pronghorn, and do you guys have any whitetail, or is it just mule deer?
No. Yeah, just mule deer, elk, antelope, and moose.
All right. So what's the hardest? What's like, antelope's kind of down, and from my experience, the one time I went there, they were kind of down like the flat part of the ranch, but like the mule deer, the elk, are they all kind of up in the mountains, or the mule deer, where are you finding them at? Like, what I'm trying to get at, like, how hard is it to guide for those, like, three specific things? Is the elk just by far the hardest?
It's all, it depends on what you consider hard. Just because the elk, yes, physically, it's going to be much harder than the rest. Mule deer, it's going to try your brain. It's going to try your patience. You got to spend a lot of hours behind the glass, sitting in a handful of spots for, 20 hours of the day, trying to figure out, okay, where is he at today? Where did he move today? Is he going to stand up in the daylight today? So you're sitting there straining your eyes, looking through glass, trying to find antler tips or find a tail flicker to give him up. To where the elk, you're more kind of like you're turkey hunting. You kind of can run and gun. You can move around. If this elk didn't show up, I'm going to go see what this herd is over here. I'm going to chase this bugle over here. So physically, the elk is definitely the hardest. Mentally, the deer whoop your butt. And it all depends. The deer range from our high country all the way down to the flattest country we have down towards Wyoming. So they cover basically the whole part of the ranch, to where the elk only during the hunting season, during the fall when we're hunting them, they're only encompassing maybe 40,000 of the 240,000 acres that we have. So they're kind of honed into the tighter spot. You know exactly kind of where to go look. To where deer, you can go look everywhere for them.
Sure. That I know a lot of Midwestern guys, they start looking at Western hunts, especially guided Western hunts, and the price tag is a little shocking. But I think what you're bringing up is the fact, like, there's a lot of homework, a lot of time that as a guide you're spending doing that prep, so that when someone gets there, you can jump right in on the pursuit, right?
Well, and the way that I explain it I was just talking to a buddy the other day on the phone. He's from Tennessee and he wants to go out on an elk hunt. And I said, it's your choice. You can spend the next 10 years of your life traveling, trying to figure out what these elk are doing, buying tags, buying lodging, doing all this. And you're probably going to spend the same amount if you would just spend it one time, go with an outfitter and harvest an animal. So if it all adds up roughly the same, you could get lucky and go out and have a great hunt right off the bat and spend bare minimal. But yeah, spending the money with the outfitter, they've done the homework. They have the properties. They know where to take you. It's a catch-22. It's what you want to do. Do you want to spend it over the long run, or do you want to just spend it up front and get it over with type of deal?
No, for someone that has the icy breath of the reaper on his neck every day of my life, I don't have 10 years to wait around.
Well, hey, look, it's one of those things where it's like a whitetail hunter in the Midwest. You got all your cameras out, the deer herd, exactly what you're after. These guys, it's a lot harder because it's not like you guys do run trail cameras, but it's not the same at all. So it's like you're glassing, right?
Yeah.
Boots on the ground to figure out where the herd's at and what they're doing.
Correct. Yeah. And a lot of the Western states have eliminated the use of trail cameras.
Oh.
It was getting to the point, especially on public land for outfitters, you would get to a water hole and there would be 100 cameras on one water hole.
Oh my goodness.
And
I would start dancing.
Yeah. They've eliminated a lot of that. So it's turned back to a lot of boots on the ground, knowing what these animals do day in and day out. It's going to change from July to September to November with these mule deer and the elk. So you definitely have to have boots on the ground and seasonal experience with them.
So you talked a little bit about your glass, like especially on the mule deer side, like there's a lot of time spent on glass. What's good glass to you, or I know obviously you guys use Leupold like we do, but what is it about this, the spotter or binoculars that you're looking for? If you're trying to prepare, you're a Midwest guy or whatever, you're preparing for a hunt out west, what kind of glass do you need in order to go on that type of hunt?
Well, so I tell people, if you don't want to break the bank, just have a good pair of whatever chest binos you wear, 10s or 12s, but have a good mounting system that you can put on a tripod to eliminate the shake with your hands, to where you can sit and focus bush by bush by bush without having to touch your binoculars. So they're sitting, super stationary, to where you can see every little movement that's happening. But you want a good pair of binoculars and a good spot and scope. So once you do find something that could be a deer antler, let's put some bigger magnification on there and see what it is. So those are the two tools I like. I use the built-in rangefinder binos, but obviously have a rangefinder too, because you get out west, you get in that open country, and 40 yards all of a sudden starts looking like 60 yards or 20 yards. It's very hard to say, okay, that tree's only 20 yards away. Just the vastness of the West kind of throws your range off pretty good.
So you're using those BX4 range HDs from Leupold.
Yep.
So do you use that feature, like now when this is airing, we have that ability in DeerCast where you can, on the rangefinder anyways, I think it's the RX or TX 5000.
I'd have to look at it.
Anyways, Leupold's got a rangefinder where it was with OnX and Apple Maps and Google Maps, where you could plot a waypoint, like hit the range and plot a waypoint. Now it's inside DeerCast. Is it in Hunt Stand as well, or no?
Depends on when we are launching this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be in the summertime when this launches, so it should for sure in DeerCast. It'll be ready. But anyways, have you used that feature at all? Do you have that rangefinder where you can range the distance and then it shows up in your map?
I don't have it personally. When the guys from Leupold came out with us, we did play with it a good bit last summer and a little bit during the fall. But yeah, I'm pretty old school. I do a little picture with my mind and say, okay, I think I know which bush he's laying under. But that is a great tool, and I know they've been working on it a ton to where it's pretty darn accurate to get you pretty close. You just have to be careful which states, again, out west are going to allow electronics like that.
Yeah.
So definitely do your homework, read into proclamations with the different states that you're looking in before you start using.
What is the concern about? Like, because you can essentially laze an animal.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's states that don't allow luminox or lighted knocks, or as simple as that. There's just a lot of people that they think everybody should be hunting with a stick and string still. So that's just legislature and what they want to do with how all that's going. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is they don't want to give any more benefit to the hunter than they already do, which I think it's a great tool. I think it's a tool if you're by yourself and you shoot an animal with a rifle from 200 or 300 yards away across the canyon. I'm gonna get a good landmark, so I'm not walking around all through the dark trying to find this animal that I had shot. So there's definitely pros to it. There's just people that find cons and want to make it harder for everybody.
So you mentioned about you're old school, so you kind of landmark a certain bush or a tree or whatever, and that's how you get over there. But how do you, when you're a canyon over, how in the heck everything looks so much differently when you're down in it and you're kind of heading that direction? How would you ever, without a map, how did they ever find the spots to begin with? Like, hey, I shot him 5, because out there, like some of your guys can, shoot 600-800 yards probably if they really wanted to, right? So how the hell are you figuring out where you're going from here to there without any kind of mapping technology? I mean, obviously people have done it for thousands of years. I'm just asking. I would struggle with that mightily.
No, it's definitely a chore when you get over there and you're like, all right, this all now looks totally different. It all looks the same, and I think it was over by this tree, but a lot of times if I'm going to recover an animal that we had shot, I try not to let it get out of my sight. I try and just keep my eye. I try not to go over any hills or get myself where I can't see that landmark anymore. If I'm going to stalk an animal, that's totally different. I'm getting out of sight as fast as I can and staying out of sight until until I have to expose myself. And that's just knowing the land. Knowing I've hunted all these spots. I hunt the same spots almost every year. And so there's a lot of rocks that I got named out there, so I can kind of figure it out. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, and that's what makes the Western hunting so hard, especially for these mule deer, because you're mostly stalking them when they're in their beds. And so, yeah, just have to try and say, okay, this was the third canyon down from the pine tree draw, and I got to go halfway down and make a left. And
I'd be in some serious trouble.
I always think about being on a Western hunt when I get down out of my tree stand and go look for blood. Because even just getting down out of your tree stand to look at a spot that's 20, 25 yards away, it's like, wait a minute, that stump was supposed to be over here.
How many times you look back to the tree and you're like, I think this is where he was.
It gets a little dark. And you're like, oh, now I don't know where I am.
I don't know anything. Yeah.
Austin, what about cell coverage out there? You talk about technology, and there's kind of a line of using the tools that we have. And obviously we have DeerCast and we love that, but also being a little self-reliant and being prepared ahead of time, hard copy maps, just knowing where you are. What is how much can a person from the Midwest or the East Coast or the East depend on having cell coverage when they come out west to hunt?
It's getting better, but still, when you get back, especially if you're back in the high country, just count on not having cell phone service. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, go back to hard copy paper maps. Download your off-grid maps. Make sure you have all that stuff downloaded before you go, and triple check that it's downloaded and your app didn't update on your way out there. So it is downloaded for sure. But yeah, always, I like to always have I have a hard copy of a map in my truck at all times, just so I can pull it out and check it out. But downloading them is definitely huge, because your service it can be none, and it can be 5 bars of 5G. You just never know.
Sure. And that's going to get better. Like you said, it's getting better, but I know Apple introduced it, the new version of the iPhones will be able to connect to Starlink.
Yep.
And then I think T-Mobile and Sprint, you can connect right now. You can connect the Starlink satellites, and they were, I believe, given a free trial to all carriers for 6 months or something to do that. So it's pretty. I find that interesting, especially in your application. If you can connect to the Starlink satellites while you're out there, I wonder how that'll affect the Garmin inReach. Because that's really what you see. Everybody that goes out west or goes up to the Northwest Territories or these really big hunts, you see them using those Garmin inReach a lot to kind of communicate back. But if you could connect to Starlink, it kind of makes that null and void, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think the only thing that's differentiating between those devices is those Garmin devices are so durable.
Yeah.
Probably more so than your phone, than your typical phone.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
But
they're kind of made for that rugged terrain and to get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, that gap is narrowing. I mean, I remember when we used to have handheld GPS device, like the old Garmin eTrex. I had one of those. You have to download all your maps from a disk on your desktop.
Yeah,
but things are changing.
So Austin, as you kind of because you obviously you spend a decent amount of time in the Midwest when you guys go back to Iowa and visit, Mark and Tracy and all that stuff, turkey season, a little bit in deer season. Of course, you guide down in Texas for whitetails once the elk and mule deer season is over out west. So you the landscape that we're dealing with, the type of probably hunter, you guide them all the time. They're coming mostly from the east, I would assume. So what is it that your average guy, like I remember, when I had the chance to come out and hunt with you, I only had a 2 weeks heads up, so it's like, okay, what can you get done in 2 weeks? But most people,
in terms of physical,
exactly. But most people have, they've if they're booking a hunt with you or whatever outfitter, they've got this thing planned out and they know it's coming up, and you got some real time to affect your endurance and kind of prepare for this thing. So what, in your opinion, is the most important thing to prep and prepare for physically as you get prepared for a Western hunt?
Walking. I mean, just walk. Put a pack on your back or a weighted vest, something that's going to pull down on your shoulders, that's going to put stress on your back, and just walk as much as you can. There's nothing that can prepare you for altitude. Even I struggle at the first part of the year because I don't spend all summer, up hiking through the high country. But if you can spend a lot of time each day just walking, because it's a lot of, it's in your head. It's a lot of mental stuff. Like Cam Hanes says, it's all mental, your body can do a lot of great things. So just sit there and make yourself go through super hard things. Go work out, go do a 5-mile walk and then do a set of push-ups and then try and shoot your bow right after. Don't let your heart rate come down. Try and do a lot of things where your body is under stress. And weightlifting, that's a good thing. You can be strong, you can do whatever. But for the most part, it's going to be your physical walking output that you need to be ready for. And like I said, you can't train for the altitude. I guess they have those masks that you could wear. You could look like a guy off Mad Max for a while.
Bane. So how many miles, by the time you're ready to go, like how many miles should you be prepped for? Like in a given day, is it 8, 10, 12? I guess it depends on what type of hunt, where you're going, but what's a good,
Me personally, I try to keep everything between, 3 to 10 miles a day is kind of my max. There are people that'll go out and do 20 miles a day, but the way I like to hunt, it's going to be around that 5-mile average. I would say 5-6 mile average per day. But again, it's up and down. It's not just walking 5 miles down the river walk, But yeah, that's what we explain to everybody before they come. Plan 5 to 10 miles a day.
Like, have you ever had a situation where someone came out and you're like, they're clearly not physically capable of they didn't do their kind of end of the deal? How do you handle that?
You just hunt different, hunt slower, hunt smarter in the terms of, okay, I've been scouting these elk all summer long. I know these cows like to cross from here to here in the mornings. I'm going to go sit this ridge right here for 2 or 3 hours today. And then I'm just going to walk that mile that I walked in. I'm just going to slowly walk that mile back out.
Yeah.
So just got to kind of go off how your hunter's abilities are. If they're, I'm trying to think how to say this. If they're out of shape,
it's nice of you.
You just have to take it easy on them. And then there's other guys that are going to want to go, and you have to pull their reins back, because it's not all about who puts in the most miles is going to kill the best elk. It's
sure.
A lot of, I end up sitting. I sit a ton during the fall when I'm chasing the elk. Just it's easier on your hunter when the time comes to make the shot. They're not exhausted from the day of walking.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of preseason scouting comes in to play to not kill yourself during the fall.
One of the things that I noticed that was so different. So I've only been twice, once with Austin's group for a rifle hunt in Leopold, and then last year in Idaho for an archery hunt. And I was surprised after the first day how sore, and we walked a ton that first day, how sore my shoulder was from holding my bow. Like, you don't think about something like that, but like, with the gun, I just had the sling. It was just over my shoulder the whole time. But the bow, which, Matthews has that silent connect system, but it it didn't work quite for the way we were kind of working through the terrain. So
I
was
swing your hips when you walk.
Exactly. So I was holding the bow the whole time. By the end of that night, like my shoulders were wrecked just from, I don't remember how many, if it was 8 miles or what we put in, but the terrain with holding that bow and just kind of the unevenness of it. That was what was surprising. So I don't know how you even really prepare for something like that other than maybe do train your shoulders or, if you hold a walking stick when you're walking, if you're rucking or you got a weighted vest or something. But that was the one really surprising thing.
I could just picture you at camp going, "Oh, Ben, man, my shoulders are so sore. Man, it's really sore on my shoulder
He
area."
actually had muscle relaxers because he had strained his neck like the day before, 2 days before. So he had muscle relaxers with him. So I popped a couple that first night, but after that it was fine, but it was just an adjustment.
He's always offering me pills. That's probably what they are.
He said they were muscle relaxers. I don't really remember anything after that.
Man, I'm feeling like I dodged a bullet here.
Not going
Maybe
on that
you
trip.
did not, sir.
It was a fun time.
Austin, one of the most fascinating aspects of being on a guided hunt to me is how the guide kind of sizes up people, like psychologically, physically, just what this person is capable of, what their disposition is. Because you gotta it's crazy.
Kind of a therapist.
You're meeting someone a lot of times for the first time, and you're going to be in the woods with them in difficult situations. They've got a weapon. It's just a weird kind of coalescing of different factors that you don't find in everyday life. So when someone comes in, how do you start to put together a profile of them so that you can be as effective as possible?
Just communicating with them without offending them. Talk to them about their abilities, how they prepared for this hunt, what they expect, what they want to do. There's somebody that's going to say, okay, I'm ready to do 10 miles, but it looks like they haven't done 10 miles over the last 365 days. Then you got to start changing their thought process of, okay, maybe I'm going to take them for a little bit of a walk and let them know, okay, this is what we're getting into, and kind of throw them to the wolves to start and say, okay, this is what it would be like if we're going to do the hunt that you want to do, or let me do my job, and I'm going to cater this hunt to your style that we can make it happen and successful and a fun hunt for you. Because there are tons of people that will show up that think they want to go beat the bush and go crazy and go run and chasing all these elk, but you in your mind you're like, that's not going to be possible. So you gotta look at the person and say, okay, we're definitely not going to the hardest part of the ranch to hunt. We're going to go maybe towards the more roly-poly aspen areas, and that plays into mine and Dad's decisions on who's hunting with who. It's like, okay, this guy looks like he can run a marathon every single day. He's probably going to go with my brother Tyson or Hiram or somebody that's a little skinny guy that wants to go run around the mountains all day. Or this guy's from the South and he doesn't spend much time out of his office. He's a very successful business guy, but he spends a ton of time in his office. We're going to put him more with somebody like Austin or Amos, somebody that knows how to slow play and hunt these elk at a much slower manner than some of these other guys.
I went with Amos.
Now you know why. Very successful in business.
Just describe me.
So Austin hands him off. Here's Matt. He's a very successful businessman.
When he said the roly-poly aspen hills, I thought, that's where I was at.
Crap. I love those aspens. Very familiar with them.
What about their shooting abilities, though?
Yeah.
That's the one thing, the most important thing probably is, okay, whether it's archer, probably more important on the archery side than the firearm side, but how do you size them up in that regard?
So we all go shoot with our clients. We'll go when they first get into camp, we go shoot with them, and we figure out very fast who can shoot 30 yards and who can shoot more of the 60, 70 yard shots. And so we make everybody shoot. And if it's somebody that struggles on shooting that you can tell doesn't practice a lot, we go spend, an hour with them every day at the range and go try and work on stuff. and just know, okay, we're going to be more, maybe we'll sit more water holes to where we have that for sure calm 30-yard shot opposed to the running and gunning. You draw back at 30, but he runs out to 50 and you got to still make the shot. It just all depends with the guy. But yeah, we make sure we shoot with everybody and kind of figure out where their strengths and weaknesses are.
Do you ever get annoyed maybe of, not maybe that's not the right word, but like if you do get a guy that's like, man, you knew this trip was coming up and it's like, you could tell you haven't been practicing. Is that, because ultimately like you're trying to be very ethical, you're trying to put the animal down, with a good, clean, ethical shot. Mm-hmm. So can that be hard to take as an outfitter or not? You get used to it.
Yeah, very. Yeah, no, annoyed is the right word because like you guys said earlier, like most of them have known for 6 months to a year that they're coming out on this hunt. They owe it to the animal to be prepared. Yeah. We're going to get them the shot opportunities. They're going to have the opportunity. They don't need to worry about that. All they had to worry about the last few months, is have your bow dialed or have your rifle sighted in. We've had people show up and the gun's still in the case and we got to mount the scope on it.
Oh, brutal
type deal. Or same thing with a bow, like their sights aren't even mounted on it. And it's like, did you guys even cut your arrows? Like what? So yeah, there's definitely times that happens. And I mean, at the end of the day, we just kind of have to roll with it. But we're going to do the best to our abilities. Hopefully all of us are knowledgeable enough with rifles and archery equipment that we can help them at least get tuned in enough to where we can make that closer shot. But even at that, you see some guys mess up some absolute chip shots on, 1,000-pound animals.
So idiots.
Hunters are oftentimes a proud group, and sometimes we don't take instruction very, very well. How do you deal with that ego aspect? Or maybe I'll flip it. How can a hunter coming out get the most out of the guide's experience, knowledge, and wisdom without kind of stepping on your toes?
Well, it's just like any profession. I mean, if I were to go to a doctor, I'm not going to tell him how to do the operation, right? I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen. If there's some questions I have, I'm going to maybe ask some questions. I'm not going to make bold comments towards him. I'm going to be more questionable with it. But the way I handle it is I never tell somebody to do something. I'm not like, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that. I say, hey, you could try to do this or we could try and do this. I always try and frame it up to let's try and do it together. Let's try and figure this out. We can do this or we could try this, to where they're not thinking, oh, God, this guy's a know-it-all and he's just telling me what to do. And that's not what YouTube told me to do. So kind of just frame it up in a more diplomatic way to where it feels like I'm asking you a question at the same time, to maybe they feel like they're answering some questions too, to where It's not like me just demanding. You need to have your, you need to rest right here and you need to hold your bow like this. You do this. Like it never works that way. So some people, and females are much better listeners and much better shots than males.
I'll give them that.
Female, much better, Tim, and you know that.
And much better than you specifically.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sportsman Channel is your home for Winchester and Drury's natural born. Join the cast on some of the most hard-hitting action on outdoor TV. See the full schedule at thesportsmanchannel.com.
So speaking of clients, you get to host some pretty interesting folks that come out, celebrities, and I'm curious if you have any great stories you can share with us.
Yeah, I got one in particular I've been waiting to drop on Mr. Levi Morgan, because he always makes me look like a clown in all the podcasts that he's in. But I had one particular bull that I wanted to go chase with him, and I was like, all right, I got a world champion archery hunter, shooter guy coming with me. This is going to be perfect. All we got to do is get under 100 yards, and he's going to kill him. And so the very first day we get out, and our hunting is never serious. I'm kind of a goof when it comes to hunting, and him and his brother Micah are both goofballs as well. So we always are having fun, giggling, laughing. And I told him, I was like, hey, this bull's been living right here. That bull that's bugling right now, I think could be him. So let's go get set up. And he gets set up. I drop back about 30 yards, make a couple cow calls. You can hear the bull breaking sticks coming closer. And I'm watching his demeanor. I see him just stuck out in the wide open like a total newbie. He's just like standing. He's 6'4", I think. And he's just standing wide open. And I never hear the bull again. I don't hear anything. And I just see him drop his head. And I walk up and I'm like, what happened? And he goes, he was walking right at me. And I was like, and he goes, I just picked my bow up to draw back and spooked him. I was like, what do you mean? You just picked like he was looking at you and you just decided you were going to move out in the wide open like he wouldn't see you? And he's like, well, I guess, yeah. So that being said, there's people out there for all you guys that are wanting to get into elk hunting. The best of the best hunters they screw it up just like a total newbie would. So now I'm going to fast forward. He made me look like a goofball by licking a rock.
What?
In his, and I'll be honest, I did lick a rock, and I'm going to tell you guys this in complete confidence, and I hope that you don't laugh at me too much.
No,
we don't do that.
No, we don't. We build each other up.
Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed that last time I was on here. But
it's a direct quote from that show, by the way.
We're sitting there, and we get in the middle of just pure chaos. There's probably 10 bulls and probably 100 different cows all around us going every different direction. And then all of a sudden, everything just goes completely quiet. Everything vanishes. And I'm standing there. They're kind of just sitting there whispering back and forth. And all of a sudden, I just put my head down to the ground and I listen to the ground. I put my ear down to the ground. I'm listening. And a little voice inside my head says, find a rock. And I look up and I see a rock and I grab the rock and it says, lick the rock. So I put the rock to my tongue and it said, find the moon. So I look up and I'm looking around. I have to move a little bit and I find the moon and I point straight down and I point to a tree. I said, go stand by that tree. You're about to shoot an elk. He goes to that tree. I walk back about 15 yards, blow a cow call, an elk bugles, walks up 35 yards and he shoots him.
That's some Indian stuff right there, buddy.
Whoa.
That's some real mystic. What was going on here?
You just take a sip of ayahuasca beforehand?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's dig into this a little bit. So what made you, you're getting in tune with the earth here? What was it that made you want to do that?
I don't know. Just that little voice inside my head just told me to do all those steps, and all of a sudden that happened.
My little voice usually makes me do stupid ass shit.
I haven't licked a single rock in the Whitetail Woods.
I've licked some stuff, but never a rock.
Jordan, you got that time code? We're going to need that. Holy heck.
Yeah, so he now has a reel out on his page of me licking a rock and no further story, no nothing. He had a handlebar mustache licking a rock.
And he benefited from it, right?
Yes. Yes, he did.
That's some, excuse my language, that's jive.
Very
sorry.
Yeah.
But you don't say that. I'm okay. Well, I'm going to be trying some new stuff this year.
That's maybe where I went wrong last year. I didn't lick enough rocks.
Ben, get ready for some interesting footage this coming season.
Yeah, so hey, whatever it takes.
Biting twigs, punching trees.
These are expensive hunts. Whatever it takes. Like, if I saw my guy doing that, I would think, well, he must know what he's doing. Either he's nuts or he must know what he's doing. That's some real Native American next level.
My guy's tripping balls here.
Yeah, juju. But hey,
well, I'm glad
Levi killed a giant elk.
You can't argue with results.
That's right.
I'm glad to know the full context of that. So, Austin,
when you guys, have some of these other high profile guests, obviously like Cam comes out there a lot, Joe Rogan, Blake Shelton. I mean, you get, the list goes on and on and on. Do you guys have to kind of give the staff a talking to before they come, or, like, hey, don't do this, don't do that? Or is it like, hey, these guys are pretty cool, and when they come into camp, it's just like anybody else coming into camp?
Yeah, for the most part, it's just like anybody else. And we'd like to think that our staff and everybody is professional enough that they're not going to go out of their way to make somebody feel uncomfortable or do something. And all those guys are good about, if somebody wants a picture or something, or somebody wants it, they're all very open with communication. They've all been great. We do have some really high profile guys that come in, and by the end of the week, you would have never guessed that they've had the success that they've had. They're all just like us. They're out there because they love to hunt. They love the outdoors. And that's our staff as well. They're there because they love it, not because we make a ton of money at what we do. It's because we love it. So yeah, that being said, I mean, it's just nobody, I don't think, comes there expecting, okay, I'm not going to get bothered by nobody. I'm Blake Shelton or I'm Joe Rogan, they're world famous people. So they know people are going to want to maybe talk to them and grab some pictures. But at the same time, our guys are professional enough that they're not going to bother them too bad.
Well, has Joe Rogan done anything after Fear Factor?
Not that I can recall.
No. Did you guys see that clip when he had Mark Zuckerberg on and Zuck was talking about hunting?
Yeah, it was pretty cringe. You could tell that he just didn't. Yes, he may have done it. He does it a little bit, but he didn't know. Like Rogan went right into specifics that you could tell the Zuck didn't know how to answer.
No, like prefers rifle hunting to bow hunting because the conversion factor is better.
Yeah, never hunted with me.
Most guys aren't talking about conversion factors.
Oh, he looked at it differently.
Yeah.
It is cool that he hunts, though. Interestingly enough, I was on a meta call. Alan and I had a call yesterday with a meta representative because we're dealing with some stuff on our page that kind of holding us back a little bit. And they're like, oh, well, it might be because of this illegal hunting. I'm like, whoa. It's nothing illegal about what we do. I was like, it's very legal in the States. There was somebody up in Canada that, service representative we were talking to. I'm like, it's all legal. It's very ethical, moral, in the States here, a lot of people hunt. And I go, in fact, your boss, Mark Zuckerberg, hunts. I was like, he's got a farm in Hawaii he's killing hogs on. So let's not get too crazy with the illegal.
They literally called it illegal. Illegal hunts.
Yep. Illegal killing of animals is what she phrased it as. Illegal killing of animals.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, stop you right there. It's not, we pride ourselves on being very ethical and legal and everything we do. This is this is our livelihood.
And you don't kill a whole lot.
Yeah,
so it's like she's talking to the right person.
Exactly. Besides that, really, it's more, we're kind of like just nature lovers. Or at least I am.
Spend a lot of time outdoors watching the world go by.
Luckily, a very good class with those 10x42s from Louisville. So, yeah, but it is interesting. It's good. It's good. Like, hopefully I was thinking like, hey, maybe Joe can get, Mark Zuckerberg to come hunt. When he was saying that, I was thinking like, he's going to invite him on an elk hunt. Like
change his life.
He's going to go visit Austin. Instantly went to that.
The way, I don't mean to turn this into like a companion show to the Joe Rogan podcast, but you've got guys out there that are inviting people that don't hunt on the regular into this fold, and they're just having their eyes opened up. And the article I wrote a couple years ago now about how hunting defeats woke culture, when we bring people in so they can kind of see what it's really like, a lot of them are changed. Their worldview is impacted by it.
The other day I saw Cameron, like I said, we're filming this way before it airs. So not long ago, I saw something where Cam had Travis Barker from Blink-182 shooting bows with him. And then he was on a FaceTime call with Kourtney Kardashian. Like they were talking about how much, because Travis dates, they're married or date or whatever it is.
Didn't know that.
And so they're talking about shooting a bow. And she's like, oh yeah, he's really good at shooting a bow. I had to convince him to shoot it when we were on vacation, wherever the hell they were at. And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like stuff like that, I find fascinating.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe the rest of the hunters out there find it like, oh, that's a problem. I don't know. I think it's pretty neat that he's introducing all these people. He introduces a lot of people to archery. They
We
may
need
not
that.
all convert to hunting,
Sure.
but they're listening to him talk about it. So how can that be a bad thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Bring them on in.
So you get to spend a lot of time with those guys in the fall. Is it? I mean, like you said, my experience with any of these kind of guys, they're basically just like, especially hunters, they're basically just like you and I. Love being
Handsome.
outdoors. They're handsome, obviously fit. But no, they're just average guys that like to go spend time outdoors and hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, is that pretty much your experience most of the time?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And to the people, like, we deal with a ton of new hunters. People, like you were saying, a lot of our guys bring out people that have never hunted before. And that's what makes our job fun, is we get to introduce them to why and what and how we do this. And it helps our country, it helps our world, understand, okay, we can be self-efficient and not have to do all this big farmer, big crop, all that stuff. We can go out there and harvest our own meat. We can go get in one with our ancestors again. This is what they did to survive. This is what we do to survive. And just enjoying the outdoors. It's not always about the killing of the animal. Some of my greatest memories hunting are days where we didn't kill something and we had a lot of fun laughs, or videoing people walk across wet logs and watch them slip. Like, that's some of my favorite things to do. So
Sadistic.
This guy broke his clavicle. Watch him go.
videos, I'll like go crawling through deadfall, and then I'll stop and turn around and video my hunter just totally make a fool of himself.
Yes.
All right. Note to self: if you see Austin pulling
Whips
out
out
a
the
camera,
camera.
look down because you're about to fall.
But that's kind of like the great equalizer. When you get outdoors, it doesn't matter what people's status
No.
is. It's just like, all right, we're all at the same level.
Yeah.
Nature doesn't care about you know what you've done or going to do.
Yeah.
It's just there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, we have. Sorry, Austin.
No, I'm just going to agree with that. It brings a lot of people that maybe are those high profile guys that it brings them down to a level of, okay, we are on the same level playing field, and we're just here to have fun. It brings out a lot of people's true selves when you're hunting together. You find out who somebody is through a week of a hunt.
That's a problem for me.
I've never, I can't recall anyways ever sharing a camp with somebody that wasn't, but like you said, like you spend a week with them, and it's almost always been very great. Like at the end of it, you're like, man, that was fun. Like going into it, like, oh, what's this guy going to be like? Or when we have hunt winners come in, you never know. And it's almost always been like, hey, this has been fun. Great guy. Yeah. Nothing really to worry about. I'm sure there's shitheads out there, but for the most part, that's the common denominator, is that everybody that hunts kind of is pretty cool in general. Like they're just kind of a easygoing guy.
Yeah, 100%.
So
girls can hunt too.
I haven't had a lot of chances to share camp with females, but I know you guys probably have hosted quite a bit, haven't you, over the years?
Yeah, and it's still not a very high number, but we do. I mean, we have a handful each year. It's definitely still more male based than it is female based, but we're seeing it more and more. And more females are getting into it, and like I said, they're much better shots and much better listeners than the guys anyway.
Makes sense. That's weird. My experience personally hasn't been much better listeners. Hasn't been the case. I don't know about you, Tim.
When you know it all, you don't need to listen a whole lot. You just
What do
innately
you
have
say?
that information.
What's that,
Yeah,
Austin?
if it's your wife, they're not going to listen. But if it's another female that has no strings attached to you, then it's much easier.
All right, you said it, not me. That's
Good night,
what I was
everybody.
getting at. This guy, before we move on, this guy killed two giant whitetails, one in Iowa, one in Missouri, like within basically a 2-day period, 3 days. I don't know.
What's this guy's deal?
What's this guy's? Well, hold on, I got that. Like, how the hell did you pull that off? And I mean,
you're like mad at him.
I got a bone to pick.
And another thing, Austin.
Yeah, I have a very nice father-in-law. That's all. I did nothing. I was a shooter in this instance. He had everything set up. All I did was prepare the bow and make sure I was ready for when the opportunity arose. So
it took you 6 years to draw that tag in Iowa.
I think I had 5 points, so it was my 6th year of putting in, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So was it, I mean, what was your experience up there? First time, obviously you've filmed, you probably filmed up there several years now, but this is your first time getting to hunt it. Was it kind of better than expected, or kind of a Jurassic Park of giant whitetails, or what was it like?
It was just a few days full of knowledge. I did my best to try and understand what I was saying earlier when we have hunters, the hows, the whats, the why of why Mark did what he did. Because I haven't those are my first Midwest whitetails. I've never killed a Midwest whitetail before. I've never really had the time to go hunt. And so for me, it was spending time with Mark and asking the question why probably way too many times to where he was annoyed with me. But I got so much from him. So that was the biggest thing I took out of that was being able to learn why he's putting food plots in certain areas, why we sat here, and what he was predicting. He'd watched that deer for like the last 4 years now. So he kind of knew which bedrooms he was doing on sunny days and rainy days. And I mean, the knowledge that dude has when it comes to whitetails was incredible. And he's already forgot way more than I've learned at whitetail hunting. But yeah, that was bar none. My best memories from that was just sitting in the blind, talking to him and learning why.
Yeah, it's next level stuff.
You don't have to say that because he's not going to hear this episode.
He probably won't watch this, so you're safe.
And I've told everybody I've talked to that. Like, it was just fun for me to learn.
Masterclass.
It is interesting. Like the next, and Wade and Perry, the whole crew up there, they all are disciples of that kind of those teachings. And it is amazing how good they are at what they do.
Yeah.
Like very efficient.
Clockwork.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool. You kill one in Iowa, then obviously Missouri's an over the counter tag. So you're able to go over, to Missouri and then follow up with another really giant whitetail, frankly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was incredible. I think it was the next day. We had found a deer. We did all our stuff with that. And it might've been that evening. To be honest, I can't remember now. It was all such a blur that it was just like a couple days of great whitetail hunting. The weather was right. The time of the year was right. I think it was the last couple days of October, first couple days of November.
Magic. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just
we had great weather for that period. If I remember right, last year we had great weather for it. So that is the thing. It's not that easy. Like, Mark, they make it look easy, but he also has his guests come in when the weather's right. Like he's looking at DeerCast. It's like, all right, this is the period where I think we're going to have the best chances. And that helps make things a lot more efficient too.
Yeah. And for me, I was to 1 week because I could only take 1 week off of guiding out west. So I had 1 week that I could go hunt. So I shot my Iowa deer on my 13th sit.
Oh, I didn't realize you had been up there that long.
Yeah, I think like the first 4 or 5 days, it was 85 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And we encountered him one day when it was like at like 9 a.m. and it was already like 75 degrees, and walked into the food plot and just as fast walked out of the food plot, just going from food. But yeah, my first, it was like really slow, really slow, really slow. And then all of it just happened at once.
Nice.
So
light switch, they always say. Yeah. And you guide whitetails down in Texas. How does somebody, if they want to hunt with you, how would they get a hold of you I'm sure you're probably full or close to full on how many you could take. But if you had, wanted to reach out maybe for 2026, what do they need to do to try to book a hunt with you?
You can either go to wildcountryoutfitters.com and you can get a hold of us that way. Or just on my Instagram. I have my email on my Instagram. Shoot me a DM or shoot me an email. And I can get back to you guys that way. Most of our stuff we do is corporate leases, to where we have corporations come in and they just bring guests in. But we do a few individual hunts as well. So yeah, I would say either Instagram or our wildcountryoutfitters.com page is the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Perfect. This segment of 100% Wild is brought to you by PH Outdoors. Check out the full line of the G Series and brand new M Series drills at phoutdoors.com. All right, Tim, what's next?
Well, we got a real wild clip. Speaking of elk hunting, this is insane.
Let's see what we got. Producer Jordan.
Okay, we're looking at, are those aspens? It looks like a recently burnt out area out west.
Country to me, but it's a little fuzzy. Like a big burnt up area.
Yeah, it's got some new growth, foliage on the ground.
So we're seeing a giant elk coming in.
He's running. Stops dead on. Looks to the left.
There's a falling over log in front of him here, and all of a sudden he just... So had he been shot? What are we looking at here? Has he been shot already, you think? Or what's he doing? Yeah. He just got shot. That's wild. So it's basically a second angle.
Yeah, the camera guy is probably about 20 yards off to the left of the shooter, the bow hunter. And what you're picking up in this video is, I guess, after the shot, the elk comes running towards the camera guy.
So Samuel Weber on Instagram.
What
shared
a
this.
crazy
That's a pretty
perspective to have.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, this is probably the perspective you see quite a bit, Austin. Like because you're usually cow calling off to the side or whatever, so you probably kind of get that angle quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of times you got to get the heck out of the way because they're running right at you afterwards. Because you're not always with the hunter, and they're usually coming towards you as the caller.
Yeah.
So they'll and they end up running right by you. We had a guide last year. The elk got shot and started running. He just had to tuck and roll, and he actually got his hat kicked up off of his head by the bull.
Wow. What?
Yeah. So
I got a question for you on that. So after the shot happens, why do you call right afterwards? What's the purpose of the calling? Does it get the elk that you just shot to stop, or is it to calm the rest of the herd down, or what is the purpose?
Well, yeah, just to kind of they don't know what happened, especially archery hunting. It's pretty quiet. A lot of times if you shoot something with a bow and you bugle or you cow call, they may just think, oh, maybe another bull just poked me or something, So you're just trying to make more natural noises for them to stop and be like, all right, what just happened? With a gun, it's a little different. The bang goes off and their adrenaline gets pumping a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you shoot them with archery equipment, definitely do a bunch of calling right after, because it can definitely get their curiosity if they're still with it enough to where they're not going to go run 200 or 300 yards. They may run 30 yards and stop and be like, oh, I was just in another herd of elk. And then boom, they start seeing the white light.
And then boom, it's over. Life is gone.
We got some new Rack Pack members.
We do? Hey, well, before we get to the Rack Pack, we should have said, if you have a shout out, please let us know, like whatever, if you listen, on your favorite podcast platform, or if you watch on YouTube or DeerCast, give us a shout out and please subscribe, share it with your friends. And we'll read the shout outs here on the podcast.
And if you listen on Spotify, we will go through and look at, because there's a prompt like, what did you love about this episode? We like to go through those and see what you guys have to say.
Yep. So give us some feedback. All right. Rack Pack. It's a private Facebook group. Austin, I'm sure you're in it, right? You in the Rack Pack? That's a no.
We should get
used into that, man.
We should get used to the silence after you ask that question, because it's always silent.
It is
because the guest is trying to be polite.
Yeah, the Rack Pack.
What is that, on the computer or something?
Perry's a big Rack Packer.
Oh, Perry's
active.
I don't think
Parry and force. Not always in a great way. Like,
Yeah.
he likes to put his finger in people's chests online there.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
He's hurt people.
Yes. So anyways, all you got to do is go to Facebook and type in the search bar, 100% Wild Rack Pack. It's a private group that you could join, a community of nitwits and vagabonds like us. And I love it, frankly.
Right at home.
All right. We got some names here. We got Craig Holland. We got Zach Burton. We got Less is More. Less is More, I think, is the fake name of the week.
Like it.
And we got Kyle Maddox and Christian Kurtz. You've been on the podcast before, Austin, and I'm probably pretty sure I asked you about the Rack Pack that time too. So what was it about the Rack Pack that you hate? Why do you hate the Rack Packers, Austin?
Austin's like, I got up early for you guys.
No, I don't think the Rack Pack was a thing last time I was on. I don't remember that.
It was
all.
the old set.
Was it the old set?
Yeah. So it could be
It could have been
RP.
Pre-RP. Okay. Rack Pack.
Rep.
Yeah. Could have been. Didn't you guys? What was your name? That's the podcast episode where you were like, well, you had a name for yourself. What was it? You called yourself something to do with a dragon, or he was dragon something.
Oh,
right. We had it on the soundboard forever.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have to go back and rewatch and see what we did introduce ourselves a little differently that time.
We'll dig it up for you. All right. Well, I don't know if you've had enough of us yet today. If you've had busier things that you need to do.
It's like, oh yeah, other
definitely.
things.
I got muscles to gain here, guys. You're wasting my time.
Story of my life.
I'm getting fatter listening to you too.
Oh, Austin!
I just did him running all the time. I couldn't run like that.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, just too stupid to know when to quit. That's all there is to
Anytime.
it. Doesn't take any
my
skill.
philosophy. Just quit.
Just give up. Lay down and die.
I joke. I kid.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, last rapid fire question.
Oh.
What's your favorite snack to pack when you're, on a big elk hunt for the day? What are you putting in your pack?
I can't remember what the brand it is, but it's the little tuna fish cans that come with the little crackers that you can dip into it.
Yeah.
What is it? Just a high? What is it about that? High protein? Is there something else there? Fats, I guess, maybe. What is it about that helps you through the day?
Yeah, it's just kind of a little bit of everything: omega-3s, proteins, fats, carbs, and it's just tasty.
Huh.
I don't know how good it is for you because it can just sit in a pantry in your pack for multiple years, but it tastes good.
The deal with tuna is mercury. Like
too much.
Eating too much tuna can get you a little brain foggy with mercury content.
Are you doing it every day for like 3 months? That's a yes.
I don't eat tuna other than when I'm elk hunting. That's the only time I ever eat it.
Every day for 3 months. That's how many? Yeah, isn't it about 2 months? Or what is that period that you guys are elk hunting?
Just the month of September is the only time. The other times I'm deer hunting.
Oh, okay. Man, why did I think you were hunting in October for elk as well?
We do, as an outfit, we do.
Gotcha.
But I'm usually back to the deer at that point.
I see.
That's my pride.
Sure.
Yeah. Now you know, Tim.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, we'll start packing that during your deer hunts. I don't know. I just like to throw the first one protein sticks in there. It's so easy. Before they had that and it was just the protein bars, I love throwing those in. But like out here, it's so hot for so long.
Melty. Yeah.
It just makes me want to eat it quicker. It's like, we just got into the stand. I better eat this.
Yeah, snacks don't last long around me.
But the protein sticks are just handy, man. Throw them in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
It all comes back to food.
For me, it does. Always.
Austin, thanks for jumping on, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed it.
You got any closing thoughts for the audience?
No, not really. Other than if you're going to get ready for an elk hunt, make sure if it's a draw or an over the counter, know where to put in for. If you need help with that, there's plenty of places to help you put in, and just be ready for when the opportunity comes. Don't show up unprepared with your equipment. That's the biggest thing for us guides is we want everybody prepared with their equipment. We can do the rest of it.
Yeah. Words to live by.
Boom.
So,
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
buddy.
we appreciate you jumping on, man. Thank you.
good rest of your day.
All right.
too.
See
Until
everybody
next time.
next week.
Peace out.
DeerCast movement prediction and mapping tools combined with our exclusive virtual rain gauges gets you ahead of your game.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast Maps, waypoints, weather, virtual rain gauges, and more. Every tool you need to get ahead of your game.